going to hear some more Hong Kong stories from our keynote luncheon speaker, Gary Comerford. And Gary is the Vice President International for Sun Life Financial. Gary graduated from the University of Western Ontario with an MBA in the 1970s. He told me last night he had an interesting career choice. He had 2 job offers in 2 different industry sectors. And you can imagine which one he picked, but when I tell you what the 2 sectors are, you can realize that he had a tough choice. The first one was with TD Canada Trust. The second job offer was with Andre Wines as a wine salesman. Well, actually, I think when you look back at your career as a successful financial services industry for the last 30 years, and you still have a passion for good, fine wines, you've got the best of both worlds. So I think you did choose wisely. Gary very quickly rose to the position of Vice President Marketing with TD Canada Trust and left in 1986 to join Sun Life Financial as a Vice President Marketing. And they progressed to now heading up the international area for Sun Life Financial. I asked, Gary's primary focus is Asia, and it's all the countries in Asia. I asked Gary how many trips he's made to Asia, and the numbers worked out beautifully. It was 88 trips since 1988. Well done from Toronto. Gary's actually also been extensively involved in the community. He's past president of the Catholic Children's Aid Society Foundation. Gary has received the Paul Harris Fellow for Rotary International in recognition of his community work. And Gary is also a recipient of the King's College, University of Western Ontario Alumni Award of Distinction in 2002. Again, recognizing his significant community activities in addition to Sun Life Financial. Sun Life Financial is one of the world's leading financial services companies in Asia. And it's interesting because they use Hong Kong as their base for doing business in Asia and for growing their business in China, India, and other parts of Asia. Please welcome Gary Comerford.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's indeed a pleasure to be here this afternoon to talk about probably certainly my most favorite topic, and that's international expansion and the role that I've got to play over the last 10 years or so in that particular capacity. It's been a great ride, and I want to share a little bit of the journey with you. But if I can just for a moment, maybe try to get you thinking a little bit in maybe a different context. And then what I'm going to do is try to apply it to the world that I live in. How many people here would have children? Could you just raise your hands? This is audience participation. Children. Yes, we have children. And we all know that children go through various stages of development. Now, some of these stages we really enjoy, and then others of these stages we kind of hopefully pass very, very quickly. I'm currently working on something, and I have felt that there are 4 stages to your children growing up. And in many respects, I think there are 4 stages to the way we expand internationally. Now, the first stage is a child. Okay, you can't forget it. It's critical care. They're born into this world. They're little things. They're precious. They have holes on the top of their heads. Their necks go back and forth. Every waking up, every minute day, you have to be with them. It's critical that you're there. Now, that lasts for 12 months, 15 months. But now they're starting to get legs and they're walking around. They have their own feet. They know what they're doing. They have their own attitude. Now, you can't let them out on their own, and this is when they go to the constant care phase. Do you remember that? The 0-2s? That constant care phase. And you go from the constant care phase, in my particular case, I've had 2 boys. So I kind of look back and I say, when did that end? And that ended somewhere around 10, 11 years of age. And that's when you allow them to go out into the street. They're on their own. You don't know where they are for a period of time. But there's this niggly in the back of your mind saying, where are they and what are they doing? Now, I refer to that as the continuing care. So we have critical care, constant care, and continuing care. Now, you say to yourself, all right, what could the 4th stage be? What could possibly the 4th stage be? As they approach 16 years of age, they get to the point where they're being very independent. And any of you here that have children that are 16 years old is cash care. Now the point I'm kind of telling you about the 4 C's is really to say about, think of a business. Think about Sun Life Financial, a company that's well over 130 years old, an international company. We're no stranger to international experience. And how do we manage that development? Well, first of all, we set up an operation, and we're critically important. It's critical care to us. But how often do some companies, and some of us that are sitting here today, move from that critical care phase of saying, we've mastered it, we know what we're doing, and we immediately head towards cash care. In other words, we're going to send capital if we don't pay attention to it. Well, what I want to share with you today is there's a real need to pay a lot of attention to the businesses that we establish, and Hong Kong is playing a critical role in us, enabling us to play that supervisory role, that role where we can really have an incubator for our successes. You know, it seems like only yesterday that I got on the airplane for the very first time on a Cathay Pacific flight. But it was 1988, as was mentioned earlier. And I remember that very, very clearly because I didn't want to go on the flight. I had a reasonable education. I had a reasonable experience in financial services. But I said to myself, why am I going to Hong Kong? Why am I flying there? In some respects, I thought I have a nice, safe, comfortable world that I live in. And for those that maybe have not traveled internationally, you kind of say to yourself, this is a comfortable queue. I like sitting here. Leave me alone. But in many respects, what happened on that 15-hour flight to Hong Kong changed my life. And it did because when I got off the airplane in Hong Kong, I was nervous. I was anticipating all kinds of things, mostly negative. But what happened when I got off the airplane is what I saw: a vibrant city. I saw another part of the world. I saw an economy. I saw, it was just a place that was exploding. It was alive. Now, of course, what my wife found was a shopping mecca second to none, but we'll leave that at that right now. And also in 1988, I had an opportunity to visit mainland China. Of course, it wasn't one then. It was 2 separate entities. And there was a lot of security. And I remember that I was a tourist, basically. And we were shown the little cute villages, and we were ushered around in a very organized way. But I never got the chance to see the real China. No way, in no respects, really, was I appreciating what was about to take place. Because I didn't see it. What I saw was yesterday's market and not tomorrow's market. But, you know, time marches on. And in 1996, it was my time to do another flight back to Hong Kong. This time in the capacity with Sun Life of trying to figure out how and where we should be expanding internationally. And in that 8-short-year period, there was a tremendous change that had taken place in Hong Kong. Well, I viewed it as always an exciting, vibrant place. What I found was Hong Kong was on steroids. That there was a market mentality. There was an excitement. There was something that was happening like never before. The other thing that was happening in Sun Life is that we had to step back and say to ourselves, what should we be doing as far as an international company is concerned regarding international expansion? We look at international expansion as being very important to us. You may find this hard to believe, but in the 1930s and early 1940s, just prior to the Second World War, Sun Life was in over 40 countries worldwide. We dealt in over 30 different currencies. It seemed like we were really flag planted. We had offices and operations in all the corners of the world. And then through political change, through economic problems, through many, many reasons, we contracted as an organization. So we found ourselves in the early 90s kind of saying, are we going to be able to sustain ourselves as one of the world's greatest life insurance companies by being a Canadian-based company alone? And the answer to that was no. We need to grow. We need to look outside our markets. As in many respects, the predecessors that were standing at this podium in 1930 were saying, we need to be in places. We first went to Hong Kong in 1892, and we never left. And that is why we had an incredible foundation on which to build. But you kind of say to yourself, well, we had an operation, and we refer to it in some respects as not a large operation for Sun Life of Canada, our Hong Kong operation where we sell policies. We have approximately 100,000 customers in Hong Kong that we sell life insurance to every day. But around this time in 1996, we were viewing Hong Kong very differently. We had traditionally had a small regional office in Manila. You may find this hard to believe, but in the 50s and 60s, Manila was going to be the place of expansion. It was going to be the hotbed of activity, the economic, robust market that was going to take off. And it didn't happen. But at Hong Kong, it did. So we found ourselves in this situation is, how do we take advantage of this? And how do we take advantage of the opportunities that were emerging in Asia, in Greater Asia, including the Indian continent? Well, what we quickly realized is that we had done some regional expansion down in Latin America, which I was involved with, and of course in North America. But we looked at where the best place was for us to place our capital. Now, as business people in this room, you have to realize is that what our job is to do is to identify the best place in the world to deploy our capital. Our job isn't to go to Hong Kong or go to mainland China or go to anywhere just because other people are doing it. We do it for one reason and one reason only, and that is because we think there will be a significant benefit to the shareholders of Sun Life by doing it. And we came to the conclusion that there was no better place in Asia to place our regional headquarters as we began to build a launch pad to expand ourselves in Asia, and that was in Hong Kong. And we did that approximately 5 years ago, where we moved our operations from Manila, and we moved them to Hong Kong. And that has been a key to our success. It has really just been outstanding. Now, why Hong Kong? Well, of course, mainland China. Mainland China was going to be, in our view, an exceptional market. But we also identified another market, India, as being very important to us. And we refer to these two markets as must markets. These markets aren't easy to do business in. They both have their strengths and their weaknesses and their idiosyncrasies. Trust me, in any given day, the only thing I get to deal with normally are problems. And there are more than enough problems opening in both these markets, for example. But in order to be successful in the future, we realized that we were going to have to be successful in these markets. We needed expertise, we needed professionalism of a regional base in order to monitor and in order to add value as we go along. Because what we also realized was that despite these are wonderful opportunities, there isn't the maturity in the business community to rely solely on that domestic market, whether it be China, whether it be India, whether it be Indonesia, where we're expanding also. And quite frankly, even in Manila, where we also view opportunities outside our traditional life insurance platform. So what happened? Well, I'm very pleased to say that, we established our operation, our Hong Kong operation, in 2000. And from year 2000 to 2004, Sun Life Financial Asian operations have grown 299%. If you look at that and you take out the exchange in dollar, kind of in real terms, that was a 473% increase for us. You know what? That's good. That's good. Because, remember my premise is I've got to look to places where I can deploy our capital and we can find resources that cause our businesses to be successful. So what we found now is that using Hong Kong as this regional base, using Hong Kong with all its experience and with all its expertise has allowed us to become today one of the fastest growing life insurance companies in Asia. Now, what do we look for? And what is it that we've really accomplished by being in Hong Kong? Well, it's the people. A couple of years ago, I was writing an article, and I surveyed the 12 CEOs, chief operating officers, of the major life insurance companies that were doing business in Asia. And it was a marvelous opportunity to talk to these individuals. And one of the real eye-openers that I got was what is important in their minds for success as you expand anywhere. And the frame of reference was Asia. And the number one issue that came out was people. Hands down people. Is that at the end of the day, the human resources, the expertise is what's going to make you a success. We all do our homework regarding the market opportunity. That's a baseline job that we have. But how do you turn a tremendous opportunity into a reality? And we think that it's really having those people on the ground that's the most important. And when we look at Hong Kong, what we see is a professional group second to none. We see a pool of talent that we dip into each and every day to support our other operations around Asia. individuals. I look at Candy Yun. Candy is an actuary, trained in Hong Kong, an Oxford grad, second to none. She is just an absolute godsend because we use her expertise, her 15 plus years in the financial services and the life insurance business, and we fly her to all the corners of Asia. Because we are not trying to put people from North America into these operations. What we're trying to do is to make sure that we have the best and the brightest developed in the local market that we're in. It's very expensive renting 747s and flying people in from Toronto. So when we can have a regional base, such as Hong Kong, where we can have this expertise, whether it be investment management, whether it be an actuarial, whether it be in underwriting, those key variables that are successful to our business. And when we have them in this local regional center, it is second to none as far as the opportunities are concerned. And that's what we get out of Hong Kong. So really what I'm explaining here today is that you've got to view Sun Life's reason for being in Hong Kong on two separate platforms. The first platform is it's a good market for us to sell life insurance policies. And yes, I can refer anyone into this room to a Sun Life agent at any time. Just hand me your business card at the end of the speech this afternoon. But that's not the point of being here. The point of being here is that in Hong Kong, we want to be very much a part of the community. We want to sell life insurance and savings products to that market, and we want to do it second to none. We're not the largest, but because of our regional operation, which is that second platform, because of the success of that, because of the success of this platform and the success of Asia generally, we now have much more confidence in the region. We have much more confidence in the need to expand and to grow our market in Hong Kong. And we look at Hong Kong as truly an opportunity that we want to continue to take advantage of. Alright. Where do we go? What's our next step? Well, in any operation, you look and you say to yourself, what has caused you success in the past, and what has caused you success kind of going forward? Because, as I said earlier, the CEO of Sun Life, what he's going to do is, he's going to step back and look at, where am I going to deploy capital, and how am I going to do it? Well, when we look at Hong Kong, we see that opportunity that is not only for today, but for many years going forward. When you use a simple statistic, again, when we go back 5 years ago, 14% of Sun Life's new life insurance premium came from Asia. Today, it is over 30%, almost $1 in $3 that are invested with Sun Life of Canada in an insurance policy anywhere in the world is from Asia. We actually see that number growing significantly as time goes on. Our Asian operation is going to become our most significant asset anywhere in the world as we look a decade or two in the front. How do we make sure that we have the talent? How do we make sure that we're properly positioned to this? Well, we believe that it's going to be Hong Kong that's going to give us that base. And that's because of the professionalism that's there every day. There's a recent book that I read by Friedman, and some of you may have read it in the audience today. And the book is called The World is Flat. It was given to me by Jim Greer, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Sun Life. He says, read this. So, when your boss hands you a book, what do? You read it. And I would encourage everyone in this room to go get a copy. And I have been doing this for the last 2 weeks since I've read this book. And the reason being is because of the premise of the book. And the premise of the book is nothing on an individual basis that any one of us in the audience have heard 10 times about the internet, about Netscape. But what he does, in a very coherent, very magical way, is he weaves together what has happened over the last 5 years. He calls it a modern rendition of the 21st century. And the reason being is, what's happening is that because in North America, because of technology, because of consumer demand, because of knowledge base, North America and Europe were significantly ahead of developing nations as far as a platform of success was concerned. But what's clearly happening is because of technology, because of somebody sitting, whether they're sitting in Beijing, or in Tianjin, or Chongqing, or Mumbai, that individual there, provided they are properly educated and know how to use the system citizens available to them have exactly the same information and opportunity as somebody sitting in San Francisco or Toronto or New York City. That there is no competitive advantage anymore as far as the sourcing of information is concerned. And as a result of that, the ability and the opportunities are second to none. Bill Gates has been saying, is quoted as saying, is that 20 years ago, a middle-class child born in the Midwest of average intelligence and average ability would have far superior opportunity than an individual born in an underdeveloped country, let's say India, all right, and was the best and the brightest in their class. Because it wasn't equal opportunity, because there was a natural barrier that prevented that individual from immigrating and from having the power and the possession of that information. Well, that is gone now. And the reality is, because of political changes that have taken around the world, and because of technical changes that have taken place around the world, Asia has never, ever been better positioned to take advantage of the world economy, in my particular view. That there is tremendous opportunity that we've experienced not only in the last decade, but in the next several decades going ahead, it's going to multiply over and over again. Hong Kong and China are going to be key contributors to this, and at Sun Life, we want to make sure that we are properly positioned to take advantage of this. Now, in many respects, I enjoyed flying into the old airport. The old Kai Tak Airport, as you kind of flew in and you nestled your way through the apartment buildings, and you saw the Marlboro sign onto the wing, and you said, "We are going to miss it." I miss that because, there was a nostalgia. There was something about being right downtown. But as you get off the airplane now, and you see the new airport, it glistens. It says, "We're open for business." It says, "Hong Kong is successful, and the success has just begun." And that is why people that are not doing business in Hong Kong, in China, in Greater Asia today, to use it as a platform, need to do this. So in conclusion, well, what I'd like to do is kind of leave you with a couple of thoughts. And first of all, do not underestimate the importance of the rich talent pool that exists in Hong Kong. Experience. As someone said earlier, gray hair. There's gray hair, there's experience, there's rule of law, there's a lot of things that make Hong Kong the choice to have your operation, particularly if you're looking for a base of operation in Asia. It is also a market that continually communicates to me, "I'm open for business, and how can I help?" There are many places you can go, and they put barriers up as far as wanting to do business there, but our experience is the exact opposite is, how can we be successful, and how can we do business? The third is infrastructure. Whether it be the new airport, whether it be the monorail system, whether it be the entire city of Hong Kong, it is ready and it is capable of taking a significant increased growth in business, and it's ready for it. It is geographically positioned to take advantage of, as Freeman would call, the flat world. That as Asia seizes the opportunity, seizes the moment, and begins to develop like never before seen in this universe, all right, Hong Kong is that platform where that success can take place. And most importantly, it certainly is time that my wife made a return trip to Hong Kong to take advantage of all the excellent shopping. That one thing has never changed, in between all these years. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about Sun Life Financial, to talk about why we think Hong Kong is a great platform for success. And while we're going to continue to take those very scarce capital dollars that we constantly refer to at our organization and deploy them through Hong Kong. Thank you very much.